Want to know why? Ask how. Howard, the humong us! I just wanted to say a good word for the FAA. If you ever take flights, you'll notice that when you're flying from one coast to another or one city to another, you can often feel like a cooked vegetable, something we've just discussed in an episode on comas. Yes, flying from one coast to another, you can feel like a comatose vegetable. Why? Because you are separated from your iPad and your laptop. Now, are you physically, not to mention your cell phone, are you physically separated from your cell phone, your laptop, and your iPad? No, not at all. They're sitting in the seat with you. But you're not allowed to turn them on when you are climbing. You are not allowed to turn them on when you are descending. And you are utterly and completely disconnected from the Wi-Fi. The FAA is about to change a little bit of that. It is about to allow you to use your iPad, your iPod, your cell phone. Well, not exactly your cell phone. Your cell phone without its telephone functions, and your laptop when you are climbing, when you are taking off, when you are descending, and when you are landing. That's a big step forward, but it's not far enough. Why? Because you would think that being able to use your cell phone, your laptop, your iPad, your iPod, that these are trivial things. You would think that these are minor amusements. And what is a minor amusement in a nice puritanical society like ours that is supposed to value work and productivity? It is everything. Pleasure, when it's used properly, is the path to an improved brain. What in the world do I mean? Pleasure, when it's used properly, stimulates the brain. Studies on the brains of growing rats demonstrate that those that get a lot of stimulus have brains that are just riddled with lots of neurons, and those neurons have hundreds of millions, actually hundreds of billions, and possibly trillions of bushy little connections to each other that make the rats smart, bright, adaptive, clever, and creative. Rats that are deprived of stimulus, on the other hand, have brains that look like deserts. They look like an occasional Joshua tree. Have you seen how miserable Joshua trees look in the desert? Instead of being tangled in bushy connections, they are sparsely settled across the landscape with very few connections. That's the sign of a brain that is dumb, that is uninspired, that does not produce wildly imaginative new things. In fact, that produces very little at all. And what is it? What is one of the things that keeps brains bushy, bright, and highly connective, inspired with zing and the kind of zest that makes for cleverness, that makes for creativity, that makes for entrepreneurialism, that makes for an economy that can lead the world? Stimulus. Where do we see stimulus? Well, in New York City, where we have lots of subways, we see it in people who 10 years ago to 15 years ago sat on their subway seat enduring a ride of 20 minutes, staring at the billboards, staring into the distance, bored out of their skulls. Today, those people are not bored anymore. Why? They are twiddling with their cell phones. Yes, they are playing stupid games, but a game that absorbs you, gets those neurons in the brains heavily bushed together, heavily networked, heavily synced, heavily synaptic, heavily dendritic, and bright. That's what happens. You can either use an airline flight to dumb down your population by giving it very little stimulus, or you can use an airline flight to feed it stimulus and get it bushy, bright, and creative. Which would you rather have? Which do you think is going to produce an economy that leads the world? A population of people who are dumbed down by being deprived of stimulus, as Puritans might like, or a population Puritans might not approve of people who are enjoying themselves, reveling in stimulus, even if it's the stimulus of stupid games, not to mention the even more intense stimulus you get when you do have Wi-Fi connectivity, and when your cell telephone does work, and you're able to talk and brainstorm, even if you're just gossiping with your fellow human beings. I'll take the society of gossip any day. Stimulus and pleasure and joy actually make you bright if they are not overindulged. This is Howard the Humongous, speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to zestfully and exuberantly make. Now for the idiot part, where I demonstrate I cannot find. There it is! The off button!